I always believed that death is a fate far better than life. For you will be reunited with lost loved ones. We will never meet again, my friend. I have a feeling that your God might object to me visiting you in heaven. What am I to do now? I hate you for leaving me. I ache from your loss. There is nothing that can console me now.
All right, welcome again to Social Distillation, the submarine still of the internet, where we attempt to drop the beat and pour white lightning straight on your brain. What are we talking about today, Samuel?
Well, this one is this one's for the bros because that's a scene for those that don't know from probably one of my top two series of all time, Vikings, and I think you described it as better acting than the History Channel ever deserved.
Exactly, and I never got around to finishing it just because I got sidetracked and I never got back to it, and that makes me want to rewatch it because that's what carries the show is the acting in that show from everyone, from the leads down to the smallest parts is phenomenal.
hmm
It was uh one of the reasons I couldn't get into The Last Kingdom as much, even though a lot of people like it as well. And it tells it tells a similar story because it basically takes place historically generation or two after um Lothbrok's story.
hmm
But the acting wasn't nearly as good. There
I,
were
I
some
did
good
I did like Last
performances, but it wasn't
Kingdom.
as good.
Yeah, I did like Last Kingdom. But Vikings. Was it Fimmel? Travis Fimmel, I think is the main actor there.
Mhm.
He I don't know any of his other work, but that was
It's phenomenal.
fantastic. Been
Um,
phenomenal. And that scene there was so biting and terrible. And I guess spoiler alerts for the show, because his best friend basically who was a so he was a Viking, so he's Nordic. He worshipped
mhm.
Odin and all of these things, and that was one of the main themes was he felt he was chosen by Odin, and that's why he kind of went forward. But then he befriended a person that he enslaved, and that person was a missionary, and so they became basically as tight as two dudes could be.
Mhm.
And I know you could probably riff because you'll probably bring up your show Band of Brothers here in a little bit too. But this one's for the bros because bros before hoes, my friends.
Yeah,
And
because last time we played some clips from Allison Armstrong and Lane Smith and about how men need women. We really
we
do.
do, but we
Um,
also need each other.
and
And
and we used as a fictional example, and the Vikings is historical fiction, but it's fairly accurate to the legends. There is some debate of whether or not Lothbrok was a real person or if he was an amalgam of a
mhm.
number of kind of like King Arthur. So he's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
Viking King Arthur. Um, so uh, as our example, we use Min, M-I-N, for those who don't know, a character from our favorite literature series, The Wheel of Time, because she is so pivotal in helping the main character become who he needs to be the hero.
hmm
Um, and and so that was our fictional example there. But I was thinking when we were talking about that how one of our biggest critiques that wasn't a nitpick about the Wheel of Time and about Robert Jordan and then Sanderson finishing it was we never really got a reunion of the three boys now
Boys, yeah,
men
yeah, yeah.
that where we started the series because Min was able to do what she did to help Rand because he had that strong father figure in Tam, and
hmm
he had those strong comrades, those brothers. They really were as close as brothers in Perrin and Matt. And they helped form each other. They as they were boys growing up, they helped each other become the young men they became. But then also early in the series when they were together, they they supported each other
Hmm.
and they helped each other get through some really rough times. And we definitely need that too. And I think it's two parts of who we are as men is we need those strong fellow men to help us do the manly things, but
Hmm.
we need that good woman so that we don't become hyper focused on those things. We remember why we're doing those manly things.
Yeah, well, and also we're multiple things to each other. So
Mm-hmm.
like okay, so Ragnar in the example, I'll stick with what we opened with. He was a Viking. He lost so many friends in the
Yeah.
process because they went out raiding together and trying to sail the seas, and someone fell off a boat, or all of that kind of stuff. But we also have that part of us that it was like, as he said, I cannot be consoled right now
Mm-hmm.
because I lost this person that was so special to me.
There's
And
so much
and
about that scene that I love. Like one of the things he says is, "We had so many more conversations to have,
mhm.
and we're never gonna have those anymore."
There's another great scene from that show after that one. Again, spoiler alerts for those who haven't seen it. But it's not really a spoiler. But he has a conversation with uh, is it King Egbert? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, King Egbert, and they both loved Ethelstan.
Mm,
They both loved him in their own ways, and they both kind of wanted him as their companion for each other. Not companion as in like a sexual companion, but as the person that no, that's my best friend.
mhm,
That's my best friend. And they're talking about that together, and they have this angry mutual respect conversation that is I think is one of the most epic scenes in cinematic history. But yeah, we mean different things to each other, and this person, uh, I think he meant so much to Ragnar because he caused him to rethink his life. Because Ragnar, in the beginning of the series, makes bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision until Athelstan comes into his life, and then he's like, maybe you should kind of rethink this, and not only rethink it, but rethink it in a way that is contrary to everything you've ever been taught. And I mean, we have those discussions. That's one
mhm.
reason we're such good friends because obviously we have different religious beliefs. Uh, it's yeah, but at the same time, this is the duality. I always talk about dualities because we have to deal with them in real life. Is we also kind of keep a sort of distance from each other as men because we were designed to go out hunting together, to go out raiding together, to protect and we always know we could lose
Mhm.
that person, but we also feel deeply when it happens.
Another thing that jumped out at me at that scene, and this is going to seem a bit of a tangent, but I really don't think it is because I think one of the things that is causing us to lose that connection and why I think Gen Z boys and young men are turning so much right, if you will, to politically right, is because they want that, which is this. There's this clip going around where Steven Spielberg was on. Michelle Obama has a podcast with her brother. I don't know how many people actually
I
watch it,
thought
but
that I thought that died already.
nah, it's still going.
It's
It's
still going?
just
Okay, because I heard it was dying. Yeah.
it's dying in that there was some initial interest, and so they got a lot of views, and now it's people are nobody cares.
Yeah.
But
It
the
probably gets 5% of what like a
mhm.
Joe Rogan gets. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that Spielberg was getting, I believe, rightly criticized for, although I don't think people took it as far as they could have and should have, which is this. he was saying something he said before, and I've heard other people say before about why the movie theater going experience, why it dying is a bad thing, because it is a symbol of our lost shared culture.
Mm.
Okay. That you would have people, hundreds of people in these big theaters, hundreds of people from all walks of life sharing in the same thing, laughing together, cheering together, crying together.
It's right in line with what I was talking about with going to concerts or going to sporting events.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's different at the game than it is watching it on TV.
You're
Even though
high-fiving
you
the
get a
guy
better view watching it on TV.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're at the Texans and Eagles game, and you're high-fiving the guy behind you. You have no idea who that guy is. You don't care because you're cheering together. You are captured in the same emotional human moment.
Hmm.
But here's the problem with what Spielberg is saying. He is not even close to the worst offender in this. There is still an essence of, you know,
Baby girl.
the guy who made E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark and these other classics. There's still part of that guy there, but he and Hollywood in general, how can you say, hey, you need to go to the theater where we bring all these different walks of life together to have this shared moment when your product has become increasingly partisan, as evidenced by the fact that you're on, you know, this podcast with, Mrs. For the first time in my life, I'm proud of America. We have to change our cultures and traditions. This person who legitimately, by her own admission, hates America and what
Hmm.
it is and what its foundation is and what it has stood for years. You cannot say we need to all gather together and put our differences aside when it comes to these political and philosophical matters and focus on what we share as humans when your product is becoming increasingly preachy and telling more than half the audience, we don't like you. We think you're bad.
Hmm.
You need to change who you are fundamentally. We
Uh,
can't share
yeah.
that together. And this is
We
that is one
can
of the
we
things.
can because I was at two concerts ago.
Mm,
The headliner was In This Moment. If for those that know the band, Maria Brink is the singer, and she stopped and said, "You know what? I want to introduce every band member real quick because it's not just me." And she introduced the guitarist, and then she said, "He's also a veteran." How many veterans we got in the audience? And everybody cheered. Woo, she said, "Raise your hand if you're a veteran." Everybody cheered. And then she introduced the bass guitarist. She said his father died in police action. He was killed in action as a police officer. How many first responders do we have in the room? And hands went up and everybody cheered. And then she said, "The drummer, he's gay." How many how many how many gay people are, homosexual people are in the audience? And people raised their hand and everybody cheered. And she said, "See, we can all come together. Isn't this a freaking great show? These are my people.
mhm.
You're my people." And she started rocking again.
And
And it was
yes,
like,
you're right. We can, in that we as individuals have the capacity to do that if you shut out the noise and
mhm.
be like that's what set me up on this was him talking about, I don't think your God would approve of me visiting you in heaven, but he's still making him the cross.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe, he never bought
Oh
into it.
God.
He thinks he's wrong, you know.
Oh no, no, no. He
But
actually, I don't know if you watched the show long enough. Again, okay, shut out for 30 seconds if you haven't seen the show and you want to watch it. But he forces a priest to baptize him later because he wants to meet him in heaven again.
mm, it
So,
I made it about halfway through the second season and then I got
oh
sidetracked.
no, this was probably season 3 or 4
Yeah.
when he did that. But
Um,
the priest says this isn't going to work, and he said that's not for you to decide.
yeah. Um, but but at this point, he's still making him the cross
Hmm.
because you're my friend. You believed this. I'm going to do this for you.
Well, just like I mean, I'm not a Christian, but anytime somebody prays, I still bow my head out of respect,
Mhm.
right? I still go silent and bow my head. I don't go, "Oh,
Exactly.
you're being stupid." It's
You're not going to lead a protest because in small South Texas towns, we still have a benediction before the football game.
yeah.
All right,
No.
yeah, y'all do you. I'll just stand here
I'll bow my
respectfully,
head. I'll be
quietly.
quiet,
Yeah,
respectfully, and yeah.
that's that's y'all's thing. Whatever. Because we used to be able to do that. That is what the social compact was. It was we have these as a culture, we have these guardrails, these boundaries. And you know what? So long as you stay on the track, you can follow whatever path you want. Just
Hmm.
don't go off road and making a mess. And then, and we'll all run the race as we see fit, so long as we stay within the lines. And what has been happening, I would say more on the radical left, but now with a growing cohort and what is sometimes called the woke right, although that phrase is a little mushy,
Yeah, I
is
think that's where James Lindsay went wrong is he used
yeah,
that term.
way too much.
Yeah, way too much. And if he had just said the radical right or something like that, the far right, or kept with
Mhm.
those terms, I think he would have done a little better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, the woke right are the people who, if you criticize anything about Trump or the MAGA movement or whatever, you're a pedophile traitor sellout to Israel. Okay, no, I disagree with you. Can we have an adult conversation here? To me, that's what woke on either side is
Hmm.
it is tightening down those guardrails like a vice and saying, no, 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 this is the only path, this very, very narrow tightrope that you must walk. And if you put a toe outside the line, you are done.
Which is funny.
No.
It's so funny because woke, the term, was that you were awake to
Yep.
the differences in the world and everything, but it actually narrowed things down.
Mhm.
And then you got on the other side, your Alexander Dugins out there, the Great Awakening is also a narrowing down because that's the woke right, is the Great Awakening
Mhm.
actually. And so it's like the term has become a pejorative, but at the same time, it's the opposite of what it means.
Which is infuriating to me because the Great Awakening is stealing from two very pivotal and important points in American history that were called the Great Awakening and the Second Great Awakening. And what they were non-denominational evangelical movements
Mm.
to
That part I didn't know. I knew the Russian equivalent. I didn't know that part,
mm-hmm.
you know.
No, so early on, I think the first one was in the later colonial stages, or it may have been shortly after. I'm trying to remember when they were. It may have been shortly after the founding. But the idea was, hey, we need to be better people so that we can make better communities. And it wasn't, and do it this way, and it must be this denomination. There were numerous churches and pastors and people from across the theological spectrum that went out and took part in this of spreading, doing missionary work on not just on the frontiers, but even within towns and saying, hey, we're not living up to our ideals. We need to be better.
Mm.
That's what it was. And to steal that, to
Yeah, because
steal that
that's a good thing.
phrase.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as I've said before, you can be the high priest of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. You should be happy to have the Ten Commandments on a
Hmm.
courthouse because the Ten Commandments say justice is no respecter of person and let the punishment fit the crime. That
Hmm.
is ultimately what those things, what those commandments are. And they are things that everyone should aspire to as just basic general human decency.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why someone like Robert Sapolsky can have a conversation with someone like Ben Shapiro, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they have the same values. They just think it comes from a different place.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yanking us back to where we were here, that
yeah, yeah. We
like
went far afield. Uh,
well, but not really. But this is why we don't talk about the big political stuff as much, because to me, to us, the bigger thing
I'm glad we
is,
moved away from that a little
yeah,
bit. Yeah,
is
it's
is who we are as individuals and who we are in the micro of in our own circle of friends and family and community, because as you said with your concert example, we are killing each other online and sometimes literally killing each other over these political ideological differences, and yet we don't act that way generally within our own personal sphere.
Mm-hmm.
You would not treat, it's like that Sexton short you played a while back where he was talking
Yeah, just
about you.
treat them half as good as you treat your dog.
Exactly. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
treat your dog the way you treat this, human being. What is wrong with you? Same thing here. Hold on a second. You're going off the handle and flaming this person you don't even know because of a political opinion they hold.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't do that to your friend. That they wouldn't be. I mean, yeah, we all have lines of, dude, no, I can't. We can't be friends if that's what you think, and that. But
Well,
even more than what
I'll
you
give
think,
you a
it's what you
line. I'll
do.
give you a line with bros. If you hit a girl, we can't be friends.
Mm,
There's a line. If you hit a girl, we can't be friends. But if you're having trouble with your girl, I'll be the ear for you to listen to. There's a difference, right? I know someone who hit a fridge because she was hitting him, and he turned around and hit the fridge and left. And I was like, okay, I can deal with that. That's fine because you were pushed to the edge, but you actually that was actually a showing of restraint at the time. And but at the same time, had you hit her, you'd be dead.
mhm.
And not that I'm okay, I'm on YouTube. I'm not threatening anybody's life directly, but yeah, it would have at least come to blows. And
Depending on what you did and how good of friends you are, the first offense I might let you choose head or gut,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Well, and at the same time, that's a difference going the theme we've been on for a long time is us dudes will duke it out over that.
Mhm.
So I'll say, hey, you know what? You crossed the line, and now we're gonna fight.
The,
And
the
then yeah, and then at the end of the day, it'd be like, are you gonna do it again? Yeah.
that 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 threat of repercussions if you cross a line is men holding each other accountable.
Mhm. And that's actually go to the work of Robert Wrangham, who has studied human development all the way since we were primates. That is actually what he calls it, domesticating males, is what he called it. Because 100,000 years ago, we were like orangutans, where they would go, they mate, and then the male leaves. And it's like, you do you with your baby, but over time, we have been selected because of female pressure, because we like to get laid. We have been selected to actually hang around. And for some reason, in the last 50 years, 60 years, I think I know the reason, we have actually reverted to where dudes don't hang around. And yeah, but the reason wasn't that women would say no. The reason was other men held us accountable. We domesticated ourselves because we are big and strong enough we could get laid anytime we want, and it's not in a good way. Did I throw you off there?
No, I'm just
Well, I want
we
to get
have
back to
to
male relationships
we
though.
have to tiptoe on
Yeah,
YouTube. We have to tiptoe on what we
yeah,
say,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
really frustrating.
No, no, no.
But
There's a word for it that I didn't say,
um,
but at the same time, if it wasn't for other males, we would have got away with it because we are so much bigger and stronger, and actually we're dimorphic, which is for okay, so that's a term which means that men are bigger than women. Okay, we're physically bigger than women, so we're dimorphic. It would actually even be more so if we had continued to go on in a way that we weren't relational and social. Be-
I brain farted there because I was trying to remember his name. David Buss.
David Buss, oh,
Yeah, and I
come
was
on,
looking
he's
up.
he's one of my favorite authors. Come on.
I'm a little less than halfway through uh his appearance on Trigonometry a month ago, And so I don't know if he ever gets around to talking about the what you're talking about here about men policing themselves and enforcing these kind of codes.
No,
But he does talk
yeah.
about the uniqueness of human Homo sapien mating
Hmm.
compared to other even advanced primates of they don't
We're
do
we're
what we
actually
do.
closer to birds. We're actually closer to birds than other primates. Maybe what's the macaque monkeys? They're
Macaque,
very
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they're very pair bonding. But yeah, we're actually closer to birds than we are to chimpanzees when it comes to mating.
Mhm.
But it's but we were actually selected for that. So the males that stayed around were the ones the females wanted.
That is a point he made several times in the first 45-ish minutes or however much I've listened to is look, social psychs, you've got a lot of useful things to say. You're part of the conversation here, but one of the things he poked at him at, which I think is absolutely true, is look, if you want to say that all of these psychological quirks of humanity, the way we act, it's all socially constructed, okay, fine. But at what point did that social construction start?
Well, and that's that's
Because
that's the muddy water because
mhm,
social construction creates evolution.
exactly, but also I was thinking about this as he was talking, and you know, modernity as we know it started, I would say, at like the peak of the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution, and that's
Yeah,
only
that
150, 170 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah, that's about right. This is also
Now,
work of Mary Harrington.
yeah.
She talks about the Industrial Revolution changed everything. And of
Now I
course,
have heard
I
people,
I said 70 years ago because I was talking about birth control.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that also
So when you if you take that and you go, well, I mean, is 150, 170 years enough to overwrite 200 to 300,000 years of evolutionary selection? I don't think so. But even if you
culturally,
go
yes,
farther
but you
back,
have cognitive dissonance in the
yes,
process. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But even if you go farther back and say, because I have heard some people say, no, that the social construction actually started with agriculture and urbanization.
Well, I have
Okay,
made that argument.
yes,
Yeah.
but okay, so now instead of 150 years, we're still talking 5,000 BC, so
Well, we
7,000
always talk
years.
about the game-changing events, and one of them
Mhm.
was the plow,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then it was the printing press,
And that
and
was
then
a
we accelerated a
yeah.
lot with birth control and smartphones and all of that. Yeah.
And that was a big effing deal, and that definitely changed humanity. But again, we're talking 7,000 years versus 300,000 years.
Yeah, but at the same time, every species has to go through this. So say you're, I don't know, pick your animal. If you're a lion in the savannah and all of a sudden the weather pattern changes and there's more rain than usual for 100 years, the lions are going to adjust. They're going to adjust over time, even though lions have been around for 500,000 years.
They're going to adjust, but I think Bus's point is like this: is yeah, they're going to adjust to that microcosm of change, but they're still lions.
Well, this is one of the things about humans that makes us special, though,
Mm,
is we adjust faster than every other species in the planet.
mm,
Because the lions might die out
yeah,
if all of a sudden they live in that environment.
yeah.
So, but we are able to like when we went north of the I can't remember the what they called the when we got into the temperate area versus the tropical area as humans, we started wearing clothes. We didn't walk around naked anymore, right? Because it got cold in the winter. We started wearing clothes. So we adjust very well because we're very intuitive and we have a prefrontal cortex.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's why
Point,
we became the apex species, is because we are able to adjust to every situation over time.
yeah. Point being, this is why this, as you talked about, this argument between the social psychs and the evolutionary psychs is so annoying because Guys, it's both.
It is both.
Because yeah, we are adaptive creatures, and so we will adapt to our social conditions, but we are also hardwired through thousands of generations to act and think in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand both of them to understand who you are as an individual. And we are too much throwing this all out and saying, no, no, this is the way it is, period.
Which is funny because when I went back to school for my second master's in psychology, one of actually the first class I took was human development. And I have a textbook behind me. I don't have it up. It's in this the row with all the textbooks, and it goes through all the evolutionary theories. It goes through all the social psych theories, and then it goes through the integrated ones. And one of them is called dynamic systems. And basically, the whole point of it is correct because it's like, oh, all of these things matter. And it's like, yeah, of course, all of these things matter. You know, Eric Erickson was the nephew, grandson of Freud, and he's the one that developed psychosocial theory, which is integrating
I think nephew.
social,
Yeah.
social. Yeah, it's Eric Erickson. I think he was a nephew. Yeah, and it was social psych and evolutionary psych and Freud's theories and everything. And I was like, yeah, put them all together.
So I'm gonna tangent us even more than we already have because I
I
think it'll
wanted to
bring
get
us
back
back
to
around.
bros. I wanted to
I
get
know,
back to
but
bros,
that's
but
why I say it's even more of a tangent, but I think it'll bring us back around because I just thought of a good example of what we're ranting about here from what Dr. Buss was talking about on trigonometry. And I texted you about because I had a kind of a mini epiphany of, huh, wait a minute. So one of the things they talked about, and this is the part where I've got it paused, I need to get back to, is they were talking about, okay, well, how is modernity like the last couple of decades because the advent of the internet and social media has so radically changed how we interact with each other as humans. And one of the things he pointed out is they got to talking about dating apps and how one of the problems there is there have been numerous psychological studies about choice paralysis of actually you don't want a
six.
hundred options in.
Six is the optimal
Yes,
number. Yeah.
you don't want 100 options in the supermarket. You want six, and you want to be able to choose one of those.
hmm
Okay. And if you have too many options, you don't know what to do because
Well,
which is the best choice here?
this is a very very double-edged sword, and I listened to the whole interview, so I know what he said. But he did not address this part of it though.
Yeah.
Is yes, six is the optimal number by the literature, so it's probably something between four and eight. You
Plus or
know,
minus. Yeah.
yeah, plus or minus. But there's a second edge to that sword, which is anytime anything goes wrong and you have other options, you're gonna bail.
Exactly.
If
That's what I was
yeah,
getting to.
yeah. If I'm with a girl and she's being an asshole for 3 weeks, I could get on Hinge and I got 100 other options,
Hmm.
and they're all gonna be beautiful.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, I'm in a metro area of 4 million people. If you're talking on a scale of 1 to 10 in beauty, I mean, you got 300,000 options, right?
It's
It's
what one of the dating apps. I don't even know if it still exists, but it's kind of an odd name because it's like you could take that really good or really bad, but plenty of fish in the sea. And we have a saying, there's
oh,
plenty of
that's an
fish in the
old
sea.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
plenty of
And it's
fish in the
like,
sea. Yeah.
well, wait a minute. On the one hand, you could say, hey, there's plenty of fish out there. You'll find someone. On the other hand, you could take it as, hey, don't like who you're with, come find someone new.
Yeah.
But the problem is you think that's what you're going to do, but ultimately it's not going to lead to happiness because this is where the talking about chicks for a second comes into it. The thought I had when he was talking about this was, wait a minute, we know it is measurable that women are higher in neuroticism
hmm
than men.
which is to define that is negative emotion. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And uh women also get about 80% of the matches on these things.
Yeah.
And so to Bus's point about choice paralysis, part of that point is, well,
Well, let me add to that real quick too. The most psychopathic males are the ones to match first.
mhm.
Yeah. So okay. So now go back to Bus. Yeah.
Okay, so you think we collectively kind of think, oh no, we can just throw out the way we have always done this and we'll do it like this. Actually, no, you won't. You're going to make it worse because you already tend towards neuroticism. You're going to get 80% of the matches because you're a woman, and you're going to be locked in this negativity spiral of, well, I don't want to make a choice because what if there's a better option? Or you do
Mhm.
make a choice and you can't stop thinking, but what if one of these other matches was a better option? And so then you're going to bail, or you're going to on the side go check out some of these other options, and you are not going to end up in a healthy, happy relationship.
And add to that the tall girl problems where you're going to get mostly the people who are bad, as I just said, coming into
Yes.
you. And so you're going to have a
Yes.
lot of negative experiences, which is going to increase the neuroticism. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And I was
We
talking
got to
about
get back
this.
to bros, though. We were talking about
Yes.
bromance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is where I was circling us back. So
Okay.
we have again, we think that we have changed or perfected human nature, and we don't have to pay attention to history, to tradition. We think, oh well, that's just crap, that's irrelevant. No, that came about for a reason. Now again,
Hmm.
Chesterton's fence, maybe the fence doesn't need to be there anymore. Maybe it isn't. Maybe the big angry bull died and we just left the fence there and we don't need the fence there anymore. Then again, maybe the big angry bull had a bigger, angrier son and you should leave the fence up.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
should figure that out before we go tearing it down.
We I guess now we have to define Chesterton fence.
Yeah.
So the Chesterton fence is you walked up to the fence and the conservative person says we need to leave it there. And the more liberal person says we need to take it down.
It's
But
in the way of the
Chesterton
foot traffic.
said you should ask why is the fence here?
Exactly.
And yeah, but also the problem is we have so many good things that have come about. So I'm going to use an example that might be controversial. Vaccines.
Careful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because I'm pretty damn cool with the smallpox vaccine and what it did for us.
Mhm.
Polio took a long time, but I'm pretty damn cool with what it did. HPV vaccine is amazing. Uh, but did we have issues with it here recently? Yeah, we also did that too, and we might be overdoing it. So yeah, we have to look at all those things and antibiotics. They will save your life.
I mean,
What
that is
a,
essentially what RFK Jr. has been saying is, no, I'm not anti. I'm just wondering why we just rubber stamp these things and we don't
yeah,
think these things through.
yeah.
Can we have some legitimate critical analysis, not just rubber stamping for the people who are going to make ludicrous amounts of money off of this?
As someone who has had sepsis, antibiotics will save your life.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, if you take them for too long, as also I have done, they ruin your gut bacteria.
Mhm.
And, and you have diarrhea for a year. So we have to say, okay, did I do it at the right moment? Did I do it at the right time? The antibiotic wasn't evil. It was the overdoing or underdoing it that is the evil. So we
What?
have these things, but antibiotics didn't exist when we were developing as human beings.
Yeah.
So we look at things like that and then we say, okay, dating apps, oh, we have a better way of doing it. Can a dating app be good? Yeah. If you're not very social and you have trouble like putting yourself out there, maybe you can get somebody to talk
Mhm.
to you on a dating app. But at the same time, if you're swiping right constantly because you have all these options, it can also be a
Well,
very toxic thing.
and then you add to that, you have some sort of large language model write your profile for you, and you have some sort of large language model do your texting for you, and then you get together and you have no idea how to talk to a human being.
Oh, that's a
But
different. I'm not even going
yeah,
into that. Yeah,
but this
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
again the how I was circling us back to bros, man, was this is where I think guys have a little bit of an easier road to get back to better mental health and better social health is because I think we are more apt to do these things because we are more physical in general. Because if you, you know, last
But
time we went out fishing and I'm just talking
yeah. I
talking
might
to a
have to
random
argue with you
guy.
in a second, but yeah, go ahead.
No, again, we have the capacity for this in much the same way where we started talking about we have the capacity to shut out the noise and stop being so stop being so partisan, stop being so restrictive, and have these shared moments. We do have that capacity, but only if you're going to make the conscious choice to do it,
Well,
in
and
much the
that
same way that guys can connect with other guys relatively easily if you just go out to do a thing, because we are doers and we like doing things. And the example I had was the last time we went out fishing and it sucked. And I just struck up a conversation with this guy about, hey, this is your first time fishing at this spot. And we're just talking. And I'm like, I don't think I even ever got his name. Don't care. We
yeah.
we had a shared moment of humanity together.
Yeah, well, and also it's you got to see how it's done too. Women talk face to face, we talk side to side.
Mm,
So there are studies done on this, and I'm trying to remember. It starts with a P, the author, but men will skew themselves when they talk to each other, unless they're about to fight. Then they will square.
hmm, that makes
And
sense.
so yeah, and we do things together, but we're side to side. We're not facing each other when we're fishing, or else you'd hit each other in the face with a fishing pole, right? And but if I talk to a female interest, I will turn and face her. When I'm talking to you, I can talk this, well, I mean, obviously we're on screen here, but I could talk to the side and you would talk to the side and we would have the great, that's why a lot of therapy is done where you're not actually facing the therapist
Hmm.
because it's a matter of doing something together versus connecting directly with somebody. If you're with your girl and you're going to have a romantic situation, you face her directly. If me and you face each other directly and have a conversation, it actually feels uncomfortable.
So that's a good point, because that gets me to something I wanted to talk about with this, which similar to when we talked relationships and we were talking mate value, and one of our points was, hey, you know, this is just getting your foot in the door.
Hmm.
And then if you want to go further, you've got to do more. Well, it is easy to make a connection with another guy, but if you want an actual friendship, well, that's going to require more, because those
Hmm.
connections are good. And this is an idea that kind of popped into my head when I was thinking about relationships is, so we have a lot of connections. And this is, back to, the questions from trigonometry to Dr. Buss is, talking about how the internet and social media has changed human interaction. It is so easy to connect with another human on a very superficial level.
Hmm.
And I think that's a problem a lot of people have when I'm looking around, you know, seeing especially younger people with having difficulty with relationships. And um and I think it's because they have so many connections and so few actual friends.
Yeah, I mean
And
you're spot on that one.
and
Yeah.
the analogy that popped into my head is when I was still working as a trainer, and people would ask me questions about weight loss. And a lot of this came up because my wife would annoy me with these obnoxious 30-day challenges that are all over Instagram of, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And after getting a bunch of these, it finally just kind of dawned on me, okay, well, look, most of these aren't inherently bad. The problem is they're not exercise, they're activity.
Hmm.
And this is how I distinguish. So I try and after dinner every evening go out for a walk. Okay. That's not exercise, that's activity. Now, activity is important because activity goes a long way towards caloric deficit or caloric surplus. But the foundation, even though I do it less than I do activity, the foundation of my fitness program needs to be strength training, because
Hmm.
for reasons that we have talked about repeatedly, and maybe we need to have another fitness episode because it's been a while.
Yeah, and I need to find a video for that because there was a guy that someone sent to me that was talking about how he was ranting about functional trainers, and he said strength is functional.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I'm like, yeah, you said it better than I could have. I don't do short form well. Obviously, we have these long conversations, and some people just do it better than I do, and he did it. And
So one of my most rewarding clients ever, he was 72 or 74. He had just had double bypass surgery. He had a pacemaker. And after all the recovery stuff, his doctor said, you need to, maybe get a personal trainer, go to the gym, do some exercise. But I'm a doctor, I'm not a trainer. You need to find someone for that. He ended up with me. And it was so rewarding, the simple thing of by the time I was done with him, he was able to get down on the floor and stand back up without my help.
hmm
That's a
that's
big effing
huge.
deal for someone
That's
who for
huge.
70
That
something.
keeps you out of a nursing home.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
why strength is functional. But again, he was with me 3 times a week. He, went on an evening or a morning walk with his wife every day. Okay. That part was really important too. But just like you can have all these acquaintances, you can have all these connections, but you really need those, that handful of really
You
close
you need your
friends.
ride or dies.
Exactly.
You need your ride or dies. And I've got you and I've got JC and
Mhm.
that he just texted me a few minutes ago and I'll get back with him in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm freaking going through a divorce and all kinds of stuff right now, which is
Exactly.
actually final right now. But it's even though I'm pretty stoic and I'm pretty mentally solid, I needed you guys because you were the guys that were like, "Hey, you know what? You're limping. Let me pick up that leg. Let me
Hmm.
be a crutch for a second." And we need that as guys because we abuse ourselves is what we do. We abuse ourselves to get through life. And whether it was 100,000 years ago where we're chucking a spear at a woolly mammoth, which is going to gore some people, or it's just we're working 40 hours and things didn't work out the way we wanted, and now all of a sudden the rug is pulled out from under you, and yeah, it looks different now, but it's the same thing. And we always the point of the skewed stance is we always have in place that we could lose that person. But it doesn't mean we want it to happen. It doesn't mean we're not going to fight as hard as we can to keep it from happening. And which is the point of the opening scene.
Hmm.
He yeah, he knew he could lose this person the whole time. But he's like, you cannot console me right now because and actually leading up to that scene, he was betrayed and someone killed Ethelstan to hurt him. And yeah, it was a huge thing, and we always carry that with us as men, even if we live comfortable lives. In fact, I actually think some people live too comfortable of a life that they forget it until it hits them in the face with a sledgehammer.
I mean, that's why we're sitting here yelling at the clouds, is because it's so important that you have that person
hmm
to not only help keep perspective, but also to help you get stronger in whatever way you need
hmm
to get stronger.
The old
Because, as you say,
the iron sharpens
yep,
iron, right?
because we
Yeah.
push each other. So I really think that is why it is so important, and why those statistics about, you know, geez, what was it, like 17% or something like that of under 30s say they don't have a close friend. That's not
Yeah,
good.
no, it was more than that.
Was it?
Y- Yeah.
Yeah, I think the number got higher as you got younger.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the
Yeah,
survey
they
that
don't have a
we looked
close
at.
friend they could talk to was the
That is
survey. Yeah.
especially bad for men. We because as we've talked about, it can get kind of dark up here. It can my for some reason, I don't remember how it came about. My wife wanted to know what the heck goes on in your head. And so for just like a couple hours the other evening,
Mm.
I was just saying whatever popped into my head, I would tell her. And after a couple hours, she said, "What is wrong with you? How do you live like this?" I'm like, I don't know, because I got you, because I got you. That I mean, really, I wasn't sure how to answer, and now it just kind of suddenly dawns on me because, well, I got my wife to give me that support that I need, and I got my best friend to give me that support that I need. The yin and the yang. It's why that is the ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai and Wheel of
I,
Time, because
I,
as Robert Jordan said, that's the theme he's harping on the entire time. Is that
I'm gonna pause this for a second because I need to make sure I have the right clip. But
okay?
where's the pause? Dang it, they keep changing everything. Okay, sorry I interrupted you and had to pause this for a second, but what you were saying brought this to mind. And for those that don't know, this is Chester Bennington. He was the screamo lead singer of Linkin Park. Okay.
I don't know if anybody out there can relate, but like I have a hard time with life sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes it's great, but a lot of times for me it's really hard. And no matter how I'm feeling, like I always find myself like struggling with certain patterns of behavior. I find myself like stuck in like the same thing that keeps repeating over and over again, and I'm just like, how am I in this? And it's that moment where you're in it and then you kind of separate yourself from that situation and you look at it and you see it for what it is, and you're able to then do something about it. Like you've now broken out of that circle, that cycle.
Okay, so for those that know the story, he is no longer with us because he killed himself. And he always, and what made me want to bring that up is because you were talking about that dark place in your head.
Yeah.
And he has had many, many, many interviews, and that was just one of them where he talks about that dark place in your head. And we inherently have that as men. That's why actually our demographic is the highest. Uh, the word I'm not going to use because YouTube will
Freaking
ratio
YouTube.
us S word
Yeah, let's
is
not talk about really important things that maybe we should talk about to help each other because a word is bad.
yeah. And the thing
Shut up.
is, something went on with him. And there was a lot of things going on because his best friend, which was Chris Cornell with Audio
I
Slave,
didn't know that.
did that a few, months earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and listen to these people. They were singing it in their songs.
Mhm.
Look up the lyrics to Linkin Park songs. He was telling us the whole time.
Yeah.
Look up the lyrics to Audio Slave songs. He was telling us the whole time. But every man has that dark place in our head and we channel it. And either we channel it into a relationship or we channel it into our job or we drink ourselves to sleep or there's a lot of ways that this can go. Alcoholism is just slowly killing yourself. That's all it is. I've known people that have offed themselves and
I like the term Chris Williamson used when he was talking to Dr. So of sedation.
sedation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what all of these things are, whether it is drugs, alcohol, porn. They were talking in the context of pornography, it's just sedation. It's I don't want to deal with what's going on out there and definitely what's
Hmm.
going on in here in my own head. Let me
It's
just distract myself with just base level, you know,
I think she had a point with the
feelings.
pornography with the distraction part,
Mhm.
but I think the alcohol is any I've known a lot of alcoholics and I've struggled with it myself. Uh we know we're slowly killing ourselves. You know, you can't convince an alcoholic to not be an alcoholic by saying you're dying.
Yeah, no kidding.
You
What's
you
your
have
point?
you have to give them a reason to stop doing it, or at least you know uh discuss the underlying problem
Mhm.
and address the underlying problem, not just discussion, because we don't do well with talk therapy as guys. You know, we
Mhm.
talk, and actually I've been in talk therapy for a while, not recently, but I have been. It actually made it worse
Yeah.
because I would go home and go like, wow, that's all happening. Everything I just said.
I think I've heard Jordan Peterson equate it to picking at a scab. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta let it heal over. You gotta let it heal over,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't with talk therapy, especially for men.
No,
There,
no, no.
there's a
Talk
place
talk
for it,
therapy
but
works fantastic for women.
yeah.
It does, and that male female difference, right? It works
Well, that's why I
fantastic
like
for.
what you want to do, which is combining the physical and the mental of, okay, well, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about what's going on in your life. All right, well, now let's go do a workout, and I want you thinking about these things while we're doing it. Because
Mm-hmm.
for a guy, heck yeah, you know what? I need after talking, let me go do some freaking deadlifts. You know, um, that so I'm gonna wrap up here with my thoughts on
Yeah,
why
yeah.
this the why the bromance matters. Okay, because of something I thought of while he was talking there, which I think I've mentioned this before, but I was talking to our friend who's been on the show a couple times, just talk about The Witcher, the affable gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a couple of combat tours in Iraq, and I we were talking about PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this idea that I think is spot on that a big reason the World War II generation was able to cope with it seemingly much better than subsequent generations was the simple fact of travel. So go look up if you're curious. It was called Operation Magic Carpet. It was such a big logistical deal. It was its own operation after the war of, okay, Japan surrendered. How the heck do we get everyone home?
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, all these men, hundreds of thousands of men, and all this equipment was shipped over in phases, right? So now they've all got to come back, and we don't have the shipping to do it all at once. So it was phases. It was all right. The POWs came first because they were the most in need. We got to get them home. We prioritize things in a particular way. So it took months for people to get home because not only did you have the logistical problem, but you had the simple fact that boats are slow. And then once you did get that boat back to the US, okay, well, now you got to get on a train. And then that's only going to take you so far. So then you need a bus or a car, and then you may be hoofing it for a while. And all the while, you're around your fellow soldiers, sailors, and airmen.
Who have been
And,
through the same thing.
and even if they
Yeah, yeah.
didn't go through exactly what you went through, which I
They've
think
been
is
through
the
hell. Yeah.
big thing here is okay, so they weren't in your unit, but you know what? They they did similar things. They know what you're going through, even if they didn't go through the exact thing. This
Mm-hmm.
is why modern representation so infuriates me. Is no, you don't have to look exactly like I do. You don't have to think exactly what I think. You don't have to have gone through exactly what the fact that you're a man who has struggled with relationships, with family, with work, with whatever, we can relate.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what you're going through, brother, even if I haven't gone through exactly what you're going through. And in a way that, I can't with my wife and she can't with me. I mean, again, we
Mm-hmm.
complement each other in different ways, but this is why we're talking about the bros, is because you also need those guys who, yeah, I feel you. I've been there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
I can't.
and a male broken heart is different than a female broken heart.
Oh yeah.
And so when you've been through something, if I go to one of my girl friends, not girlfriend in one word, girl friends
Yeah.
over a broken heart, she's going to tell me one thing. If I go to my bro, he's going to tell me another thing, especially if he's been through the same thing. because we feel it different. We feel it for different ways, right?
I so yeah, heck, even the exact same thing, because I talked to you about after we had to put our dog down.
Oh
It
God.
it really sucked.
Ah,
But but the reason it sucked for me is going to be different than why it sucked for my wife. And I kind of basically gave you a heads up of, you know what, I wish we had done this instead of what we did to help get closure and things. And you did that because I know from being a man, hey, it's coming because your dog's up there. This is what we did, and I wish we had done this
mhm,
instead, because I think it would have made it easier to move on. And as you say, if you had talked to a girlfriend who had to be in a similar situation, she may have given you completely different advice because
mhm,
it hit her differently
mhm.
because we're different.
Yeah.
And
Oh
and
gosh. Keep going. I have my I wrote down my finish to this, but you keep
and,
going.
and as you touched on, this is why you need those guy friends, because iron sharpens iron. That's one. But then also, when we're not sharpening each other, it's, hey, you're limping, brother. Let me carry your ruck for you, and you
Hmm.
lean on me, and we'll get over this hill together. And then you could take your ruck back, and we'll move on, and we'll finish the race together.
Well, I'm going to add to that statement before I go to mine. Is what do we need to do to get you better and not limping?
Mm-hmm.
And when the male female relationship is all about comfort, and it's all about companionship. With the male male relationship is how do I get you better? How do we need to put a cast on it? Do you need a crutch for a second? Do you need to exercise more? Do you need what do you need to do to not be limping again? And that's a huge difference. And my closing thought is women, you benefit from this.
Yeah.
That one of the biggest mistakes I think women make is they cut the friends out of their guys' lives. They say, I want you to be more important. I want me to be more important than any of that, which you should be. But you at least need to say, hey, those guys matter in your life. And so many relationships die. I've seen this with professional athletes. I've seen this with family. I've seen this with a lot of, because prove to me I'm the most important thing in your life and cut everything out. The only way you can prove that to me is you cut everything else out.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen professional athletes go down because girl gets with professional athlete because he's obviously a high mate value, right? Uh, and then says, "Prove to me I'm more important than your sport." And then his career dies, and then she leaves. And yeah, that's you benefit from the bromance because they have an outlet for the things you cannot do because you can't do everything. I'll bring Sexton back into this. He says, whoever had the idea of the soulmate keeps my job alive. I mean, it's true. We need those times, right? We need that thing. And you don't even have to be like excluded. Just let the other things be included. There's a big difference between those statements. It's not him going out with the boys all the time. It's maybe you just let the boys come to you and be with your boy.
Especially if, because just anecdotally, what I've seen, when when that has happened, is it is usually style, not substance. It
Hmm.
is, I don't like the way your friends talk or the way they act or whatever. It is, okay, yeah, but what are they doing for him? And maybe what is he doing for them?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shouldn't that matter more than the superficial? Now, obviously there are
Now on
lines,
the because
but
we're
still.
we're sticking with the bros here. So on the male side of that, you have to be completely open with your female partner that, hey, my boy's going through a really tough time. I know I know it's taking attention away from us, but they're going through a really tough time. And you know what? I'll lose some sleep to make it up to you, or whatever the fix is to this. But you have to be 100% open with that, which openness for males is hard. For me, I'm actually that's my highest trait personality wise, which I'm actually overly open sometimes. But at the same time, you have to know your female partner needs that comfort. So I'll come down on the guys on this one. Hey, look, Heath is going through, I don't know, his dog dying. Heath is going through his dog dying and him having to put it down. Can I take 2 days to be present with him? And I know we're not going to watch our Netflix show, and I know you've been working hard for, getting dinner ready or whatever the case may be. But give me 2 days for him, and I'll be right back, and you'll be my number one priority. And you have to be honest. Flip side, same thing with you, ladies. Hey, you know what? I'm going through a tough time. Give me 2 days. Give me a day. That kind of stuff. And I think communication is the biggest thing, which we kind of, as social beings, we actually kind of suck at. We actually do kind of suck at.
Well, you know, that is an interesting thought, and maybe that's where we will take this next time because it kind of occurs to me, do we suck at it or do we suck at cross-sex communication? Is
Well,
that the real
we
hang-up?
that the second part of that we know we do.
Yeah.
We know we do, but at the same time, you would think we would have gotten it down a little better by now. But we need people like David Buss writing a book on that exact subject, evolution of desire, which is about this thick.
Yikes.
And yeah, it's an interesting subject. I loaned that book out, but I'll get it back soon, hopefully. Uh, yeah, can we end on a positive note?
I hope so, but it so let me let me in on the positive of where I kind of talked about earlier is that, you know, um you do see this shift amongst young men of kind of returning to some of these more traditional modes of living and thinking. And as I said, I don't think it's that hard, at least to take that first step of if you are one of these sad statistics of you don't have a close friend you can talk to, you can turn to when you really need something, as we've said before, get out there of wherever there is for you of whatever it is, if it's, if it's music, if it's nature, if it's, books, nerd things, whatever, you can put yourself out there. And it is not that hard to make that initial connection with another guy if you have shared interests.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a start, but just remember it's a start.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go further, you can create more depth if you are, back to your word, open, if you are open to it and you don't wall yourself off.
Well, and also as a friend, don't be surprised by how much even a closed person will open up in that bro situation. Uh, I I mean, I am the hairdresser. I am the bartender as a personal trainer, right? And I've had the most locked up, closed people just sit down and let it all out. That is one of the main reasons I went back into school for psychology is because I was like, I'm doing this for a living.
I'm already there.
I'm already there. So I might as well learn how to do it right. Right. And yeah, so if you feel like someone is having trouble, just kind of put them in a situation where they can open up. Go out for a drink, hang out at the house, watch the football game or whatever. And don't be surprised when they just start opening up. And then also be receptive when they do and try to make it comfortable so they keep going. Because as Chester was saying earlier, that these things are in there, and when you start breaking through them, it's better. And there was a moment in his life that he did not have that. And it's probably because his best friend had died earlier, because they probably were that for each other. And that would be the most logical solution to that, is that they were there for each other, and maybe he felt guilty because he wasn't there at one point, or he thought he should have been, or whatever, because it's going to compound at that point. So yeah, just be there for your friends. Understand that it's not emasculating to let someone tell you what's bothering them at the time. Now, you might smack them in the face and be like, come on, you got to get through this one. But let them talk it out first, because you don't know the whole story. And again, as a man, I think you hit it on the head earlier. We have these dark spots, and it's what makes us capable of good work, and it makes us what's capable of doing the bad thing. Because you have to have that mode in your head if you're going to be a Viking,
Yeah.
because you have to not care about death.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be being a Viking. It'd be freaking crab fishing in the Bering Sea.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, what's that show called?
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We do things that risk our lives all the time. It should be no surprise that we also have a space in our head that says, maybe I don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It should be no surprise. And the positive part of that is, let's be aware.
Yeah.
Let's be aware, let's be present, and let's be good friends. That's it.
All right. Well, we will practice that ourselves, and hopefully y'all do as well. And if you've got, your own anecdotes to share, your own, hey, this is what I did when my buddy was going through a tough time, or this is what they did for me when I was going through a tough time, and you want to talk about this some more, let us know in the comments, and we will definitely do so.
Yeah, definitely hit us in the comments, because we love actually answering to the comments. So we'll see you next time.